Hey everybody, this is an episode of ExtraNormal Podcast. My name is Chris. Alongside me is who?
Your wife, Brianna Kaye. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Galentine's Day, everybody. We don't really do that, though. It's not something we do.
No.
We're one of those couples who we don't celebrate it because it's a corporate holiday and it's just for the masses and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I think
Which I think is a little cliche these days, but whatever.
But personally, for me, the reason behind is because that ex-boyfriend ruined it for me. And so I said, you know what? After that, having a fight with somebody to buy you gifts and what's the point?
Well,
I'm never celebrating this holiday again. But we do for our daughter. And you still got me flowers yesterday, which was
she
really
don't know
sweet.
no better. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a big deal.
It's just, it really gives light to the fucking Hallmark holiday bullshit. So what are we going to be talking about tonight?
We're going to be talking about a really cool enigma topic. What?
Project MK Ultra. So we're going to be,
Why are you laughing though?
I don't know, because you're like enigma. I don't know. Is it an enigma?
It is.
Is it a fascination?
It's mysterious.
Well,
Very mysterious.
It's mysterious, but the reason why I'm a fan of this topic is because it's mysterious, but it's like one of the conspiracy theories that have actually been proven out. Like most of the conspiracy theories, you're Al Roker's twitching, which we'll get into later. But most of the conspiracy theories are based on kind of speculative stuff and circumstantial. This is no, it really happened. It's a barometer of how far you think they went, which is even if you go with the most conservative, they went too far. But yeah, it's insane.
And it's been a topic it happened almost 70 years ago. So
I think it was shut down shop in 1973, 1974 is when it shut down shop. It really started it started after after World War II when we essentially after World War II, after we saw these fucking awful atrocities that the Germans committed and in some parts that the Japanese committed on prisoners of war and all this stuff. We saw this and somehow we got inspiration that we needed to amp up our game on biological warfare and all this stuff. And it really came out of a fear of Russia. It was a big bad,
because at that time, I think everybody all over the world was in this race now to form some kind of mind control.
Yeah, well, so stepping back a little bit. So World War II happened, right? And then shortly after that, essentially the Korean War happened. The CIA, during this whole MK Ultra thing is, and to give you the big headline, the MK Ultra was a fucking mind control. I don't know if you're into conspiracy theories. I don't know who doesn't know about MK Ultra because it was a big ass, essentially mind control experiments that happened from, I believe it was 1949, early 50s to 1973, 1974. And most people who dig deep into it would believe that there's some form of it still happening, still experiments of this sort.
Absolutely.
Of course, absolutely. Don't say it was on Al Roker. Please.
No, I definitely think that. I actually think it probably started in some way, shape, or form prior. And I want to know, where it all, came from. I want to know, what made this bright idea that the Russians could do this? What made the bright idea that maybe somewhere in Asia can do this? No, I think this is just me.
Oh, no. Are we already off? I'm this is, okay, here's the problem. Here's an issue I have with you right now. I'm sorry to bring this up, but here's an issue I have with you right now at this very moment. I brought to you, I'm let's talk about something that's been fucking 100% proven. This is fucking fucked up. And you're no, let's take it further. Let's go deeper off the cliff.
I just feel if we're talking MK Ultra, if we're talking
God damn it.
mind control, and they got the idea because they thought the Russians were doing it, I just feel it wasn't just let's control people's minds. I feel it really, truly had to come from somewhere. And I feel let me think, extraterrestrials.
Stop.
Because I feel...
Let's get into what...
Wait.
Damn it.
I feel we already know...
I thought I had you wrangled in for this episode.
We already know that extraterrestrials can talk to you telepathically. So if they can already be inside your mind, and maybe like they came and visited the Russians, and they were like, "Whoa, they talk to us in our heads. Like maybe we can control people in their minds." Maybe it all came from that. And hey, I'm just an open-minded person. Apparently, you're not. I think it's a possibility.
I'm tired. Time is it? I'm tired. It's already nap time for me.
I just feel like you need to be more open-minded.
Well, the what's out there now is that it looks like, so in the late 40s and the 1950s, Project Paperclip and Project Artichoke, which was the pseudonym, apparently Project Artichoke was because
Making me hungry.
Sidney Gottlieb, who was the mastermind. And if you have a chance, either read or get the audiobook for Poisoner in Chief. Dude, it's fucked up. Like, he's a mad scientist in the worst way, and he ran this program. He wasn't the head of CIA. Dulles was, who was actually appointed him, but he ran this project, and he was insane. He tried to poison a bunch of leaders that the U.S. wasn't fancy on, and he was the head of these atrocities. But this happened like late 40s, 1950s, and I think it really came out from. I think Russia was probably trying to do crazy shit, and there is, of course, it is the whole MK Ultra project, which is again a secret project that the U.S. government through the CIA ran, which is, we'll get into some of the fucked up parts of it, the multitude of fucked upnesses. But they really got inspiration from some of the shit that like Japan and Germany, and actually Project Paperclip, which was another little. So backing up a little bit, MK Ultra had, I think, 148, 149 sub projects. So everybody had their fucked up pet projects. Like, they're like, one project was like, we're gonna fuck with people who hire sex workers. Another project was, we're gonna fuck with university students. Another project was like, we're going to fuck with people who are in mental institutions. Another project was, we're going to fuck with prisoners. And if you look at, I'm going to jump the gun a little bit, because if you look at, like, I've been watching a lot of MK Ultra shit lately, and I've been watching a lot of true crime shit. And one thing that the CIA and the serial killers that I've been like watching and stuff like that, one of the main fucked up common threads between them is they look for people who people generally don't give a shit about. Right. Like they went for prisoners, they went for mental institution patients, they went for university kids who didn't have a leg to stand on yet. They went for people who essentially, they took the serial killer route. They ran this mind control project, and they're like, we're gonna try to get sex workers and Johns and all of them to just the people who wouldn't, like, if they had a beef, they're like, I got fucking laced. Like, they're trying to fucking make me into the Manchurian
Cannon. I'm going
to
sue you, but I mean, no one's going to listen to them. They're going to be like,
no. They took advantage of the disenfranchised, just the way that you see on these fucking criminal shows that all like the detectives like rail against. It's insane. So anyway, late 40s, early 50s, U.S. got the fear of communism. Like, they were just like, this is the fucking boogeyman. We're going to go after them. They're creating this mind control. So they actually took in Project Paperclip, they gave immunities to some of these German scientists who were experimenting on people. They literally said, the insane part of this too is the U.S., for a few lucky, so if you were bright enough, you managed to escape being a war criminal. But essentially, the CIA said, we'll give you two options, right? You could either become a war criminal and go through the tribunals and possibly, face these war crime charges and probably be executed and all that stuff, or you could work for us. How about that? And they took a bunch of German scientists, and it's insane. This project was, so Dulles was the CIA, the head of CIA, and so he basically he recruited this evil scientist, essentially Sidney Gottlieb, who ran this program MK Ultra that was all mind control fun. He recruited them, ex-German fucking scientists, all kinds of shit. And this is all verifiable. Like, most of this show we're talking about, like, is the Yeti in the woods? Like, but this is all, like, look it up. You can actually find sources on this, as opposed to your original theory that you came out with the Gates, that aliens are I got a squeaky chair.
Stop.
It's not me blowing ass yet. Yet. What was I saying? I'm so spacey.
Well, can I?
This is what happens when we miss a week after a week. After missing a week.
Okay.
Consistency is there's got to be some like fucking motivational quote. Consistency is the something of something.
Right, continue.
They started this program, right? And their idea of this program is they wanted, like, it's insane, like, to think about, like, people actually thinking, like, this is a legitimate way to, like, conduct our business. They wanted to study, obviously, brainwashing, and brainwashing was such a hot term back then, but they wanted to study if they could break someone down in order to essentially reprogram them. So their first goal was to just fuck with people's heads and literally, like, try to make their brains into mush. And they actually did that for a lot of people. There was one lady who was I think she was in a mental institution, and she literally.
Are you speaking of the lady? Because
the lady.
I would like you to talk about her background because it's even more fucked up.
What are you talking about? I don't know
the one. If this is
Makes
who
me
you're talking
sad.
about, there was many females, going foremost. The female that I'm referring to had a really bad case of postpartum depression, and they decided that she has postpartum depression. She needs to go to this mental institution. And, these people are paying money to go into these psych wards to seek help. And here comes the CIA.
Big Daddy government coming in.
MK Ultra, a.k.a.
Mr. Ultra.
And they just, we're going to help you get through this. So here's a mother that's just had a child that's all, fucked up with hormones. I dealt with a little postpartum depression, so it hit really deep for me. Because I couldn't imagine. They kept her there for years trying to fix her. And meanwhile, her child has been away from her. The father is raising this child alone. She's missing all of those years as a mother with her family because she's part of an experiment that she didn't sign up for. Meanwhile, her husband's paying for her to be in this an institution, and they lost the house. Like, it was just so devastating, all the things that happened to a lot of females and males, but and children too, because they did do some of these treatments on children as well. But I mean, that was just like one of the cases. And another thing, I know we're going to get into other stories, but the craziest part is that this is all like the surface level of information we know. There's so much more shit that we don't even know about.
Because
that's like even more fucked up to me, because I feel like we should know. Like, why aren't they telling us everything?
Well, one of the things they did, I mean, we're jumping the gun a little bit, but welcome to the podcast, everybody. One of the things they did. So when I think it came out of a New York Times article that this was happening, and then so the CIA started fucking scrambling. They're like, "Oh shit!" Like they're on to us essentially. Even though I think probably more than likely, I know you probably can disagree. I think most of it was disbanded because they realized that it was all bullshit. Like, there's science. It's not like intent. Like, they were like, "Oh, you know what? We've found religion. We're gonna stop doing this." It's like, I think they realized that, like, they were able to tear fucking people down, and they tore people down with LSD, which. Congratulations, the U.S. essentially brought LSD into the country because they bought $240,000 worth of LSD at that time and just started throwing in it. Ginsberg, famous poet, all kinds of people were introduced to LSD through the government, which is fun. So they were able to break down people. They had no fucking problem like making people fucking a mess.
Well, on top of it, with the LSD, so you're already fucked up and tripping, right?
Sure.
Then they would have they'd be watching them through like a interrogation room.
You're talking about Project Midnight.
Well, no, but they would watch them, and then they would leave a speaker in there with repeating like the same words over and over. So you're already tripping out, and then you have this like speaker like speaking to you, like telling you this shit. Eventually it is gonna break you down and just fuck you up.
So you know what I want in my studies, in my travels, as you say. That's not cocaine, everybody. Or COVID. No cocaine or COVID. Yet. Both this weekend. No. So I did read that in their fucking trials and tribulations, they first tried. So we're talking about LSD. So they just fucking they went hog wild on LSD, and I think it's because guys like Sidney Gottlieb and all these like high-ranking CIA officials, they were just fucking. I think they just secretly loved LSD. They just fucking thought it was like an awesome drug, and so they're just fucking just freewheeling it. Because all these guys, like, as much as we're like, oh, they dosed all these people with LSD, they did it too. Like, the high-ranking official, everybody did LSD in the CIA, essentially. Like, who was part of this project? Not all CIA, but anybody who was part of this project, high level, basically took their dips in the water on that.
Well, and that was like, wasn't that one of like in the beginning, like what they're realizing, like they had to, like, at first it was like, we're going to give you this drug and we're going to do an experiment. And then it went from like, oh, but if they know they're going to be on this drug, it's going to like adapt their mind. So that's when the whole idea of like, hey, all the guys in the group of guys in the CIA, they're like, okay, well, we're going to just not accidentally, we're going to just like
it was no accident.
pop it in one of these drinks and we're not going to tell you which one's going to get it. So it's going to be like, it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. Like the Russian
roulette of fucking psychedelics.
And that's actually how the whole idea of them going into psych wards and psyching with people in the colleges.
They're probably listening.
And the
Don't
prostitutes. I feel like you should get into the prostitutes because that's a really good
Should I get into the prostitutes?
It's fucked up.
No pun intended. But let me tell you first before we get into Project Midnight, which is the favorite. It's everybody's favorite fucking sub-project of the 149 of MK Ultra. But getting back to LSD, so they landed on LSD for some reason. They're like, this is the one. We got it. We're gonna break people down and make people assassinate. They wanted to break people down with LSD, and then they wanted to have them essentially commit atrocities, assassinate people, and then they're trying to make them forget about it. So it's like this multi-layer thing. But one of the first things they actually tried was THC, which is everybody's a fan of. And then they realized it just essentially, and they would like, the CIA, I mean, it was like a fucking drug den. It was amazing. They would put it on salad dressings and put it in candies. We're talking about like now. We're talking about like your local dispensary doing this shit. The CIA was doing this shit in the 50s.
Shit now. Are you kidding me?
Of course they are. But like I'm saying in the 50s, imagine the context of the 50s. These CIA agents who are like, you picture in fucking suits and like super sly and the American version of James Bond, they were just popping like edibles essentially, and they realized that didn't work. They were like, we're just laughing more. Like this is not going to break any of us down. We're just having a good time, guys. Yeah. And let's say more for us, but let's not experiment on people. Then they tried heroin. Surprise! It just made people fucking go into haze. They tried mescaline
and addicted.
And then they landed on LSD. And you want to hear what Sidney Gottlieb, the person who, again, we keep bringing him up because he was the mastermind. He was insane. But you know how he described LSD when he tried it? Because he was like one of the guinea pigs. He's like, I'll try it. Fuck it. He said that it made him feel like I don't want to screw up this quote, a transparent sausage skin that covers my whole body, that is glimmering, and I have a sense of well-being. That was his review of LSD, which is amazing. And I did LSD, and I didn't feel like a packed sausage. I wish I would have. Especially a glimmering one. That's actually, for me, that was like...
I've never done it. So.
That was... I mean, I wish that was my experience with LSD, because that actually sounded enticing. I was like, I would like to feel like a glimmering sausage. Oh, yeah, glimmering sausage?
Glimmering sausage.
Glimmering
sausage.
Say
packed sausage?
Well, I mean, every sausage is packed, baby.
But no,
folks, if you get loose sausage anywhere, don't eat it.
Wait, I want to read your quote. Where does it say packed?
He says he didn't say packed, but that's a sauce. That's implied.
Because I
like how you're revving me on a technicality.
I'm like psychoanalyzing the quote, and I'm like, packed sausage. Okay, that means you felt trapped, and you felt like you were in a room with a lot of people. Okay,
this is take two, but I'm not going to edit this out. This is all fucking free will. I want you to see how you rake me over the coals.
Oh my God.
He said, quote, I felt like a transparent sausage skin that covered my whole body. That is glimmering, and I had a sense of well-being.
What the fuck?
So nice. That's so nice.
I wish he talked about what it smelled like. Did he smell like sausage? Do you think he smelled like sausage?
Do you think he pictured himself as smelling like a...
And did he smell like cooked sausage or raw sausage? Because there's a big difference.
I think he probably felt like raw sausage. Whoa. He's dead now. Not natural causes, not war crimes, but natural causes.
But a sense of well-being. I couldn't be wrapped in raw sausage and feel well. That would not be a sense of well-being to me.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. And I want to pull out another quote. We're going to go all over the map.
He's gonna whip it out.
So they were conducting these experiments, and you're going to love this quote because it's right up your alley. Because it buys into your cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Gottlieb was there was like questions of like, with all these rumors of like the Korean government doing it and the Japanese government doing it and the Russians doing it and the Chinese government doing all these kind of biological warfare experiments. They asked Gottlieb, the person who ran the MK Ultra program, and he said in response, and this was during a speech, like he was in front of a bunch of people, like eating fucking chicken or steak, essentially. He said in response to some of the accusations, believing that Americans had used germ warfare in Korea, like they were asking specifically about Korea because there was rumors that they tried to infect mosquitoes with biological warfare and stuff like that, and fun times to think about in COVID times. He said that, quote, that was the equivalent to believing that flying saucers exist. That's what he said.
Whoa.
Meanwhile, he's like fully aware that he's doing it. Like he's doing they're doing crazy shit. I don't know if the stuff in Korea has been verified. I wouldn't put it past them, but yeah, he's like he literally like bought into all the conspiracy theories. Like, hey, if you think we're doing MK Ultra,
could we just be
check out the
clear
flying
about
saucers.
something? And we're live. Are we live 3-way? We're live
Excuse
2
me.
over here, 1 over there.
And we're live 3-way on OnlyFans, everybody.
So let's just be clear.
Okay,
Aliens are not a conspiracy theory. Aliens are real.
Aliens are real.
Let's continue, but I just want to clarify
Hold on.
that.
How is it not? So it is alien. The existence of aliens
It's not a theory.
It is a theory.
No, they're real.
How is it? I mean, aliens are real. I believe aliens are real.
Well, you said when you're saying conspiracy theories.
It's under that umbrella. It's that they've come and like fired in the sky us. Check out a previous episode where, what's his name? I want to say Wayne Newton. What's the guy who got? This is our retention. Who's the guy who got abducted in Fire in the Sky?
You did too much acid when you were young. And
Yeah,
you did too much.
Yes. I only did acid. I only did LSD once, for the record. That was fun.
Shrooms. You did a lot of shrooms.
I did a lot of shrooms.
I didn't mean to give you my shrooms,
Anyways,
girl.
is that a song? Is that a song?
Eminem.
Okay.
And it's my fault.
So they started enlisting all these people to dose all kinds of unsuspecting fun-loving people.
Let's talk about those hookers. Let's talk about Project Midnight because everybody wants to hear it because they might not know.
Okay, so one, corrections and retractions. The official word is sex workers because we're not calling them hookers anymore.
I feel like if I was a prostitute, I would want to be called a hooker.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't.
She's a hooker. She's a looker.
Yeah, because you're like, ha hooker, but like having people shouting at the street.
You're hooking them in.
I get the phrase. I get the origin of that.
Oh. Are you saying I'm being insensitive?
I'm saying you're being insensitive.
So sex worker would be wrong too then, because I'm not working.
Yeah, you are. You're working for that. You're
working for sex.
Yeah.
Well, working for money technically.
Yeah, it's sex work. I don't know. Who fucking cares?
No judgment.
I decided to correct you for fun on a
saw.
nomenclature. I don't care. Use hooker if you want. I just thought it'd be fun to correct you, and now you're getting all fucking. What's the opposite of cancel culture? You're getting canceling. You're canceling cancel culture.
Shut up.
Okay. So what she's talking about is Project Midnight, which was a wing of this whole MK Ultra that ran. So Project Midnight ran up in Canada, which I'm sure if you're Canadian, you're loving this because you're like, why did you get us involved? Like we're supposed to be like the cool kids.
Side note, it just tells you how connected
it all is, brother.
Canada is with us, and I feel like it's.
Of course, Canada's our buddy. Canada's totally our buddy. They're like, they're still like, they're like the nice, like.
They're so nice. I love Canadians.
They're like the nice, like they're still part of, like, I guess the only way I can equate this, and this might be a chunky Cole Medina, but this might be a bad analogy, but they're still part of, like, the board of executives in a giant corporation that you see in movies that's evil. But they're like the cool ones. They're like the approachable board of executives who's fucking you in the ass. Like,
oh, shit goes down here. I'm moving to Canada, and you're just fucking it up.
You're
gonna be like, that motherfucker is talking shit.
They're nice. I'll just say I'm sorry. They'll be like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah, I would love to move to Canada.
I'd like to move to Canada. They seem like they got their shit together more than us.
Yeah, definitely.
More than likely.
It's funny though, because a lot of Canadians I know, they want to move here. I was like, can we just like swap?
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's a lot of like America, like I want to move to the land of the free bullshit, like because we're everybody's that's the thing. Anyway, so Project Midnight
Let's talk about sex.
Ran in Canada and it ran in San Francisco. Full name is Project Midnight Climax, which is fun. George Hunter White. George Hunter White was he was essentially a narcotics officer in New York, Massachusetts, and they snatched him up because he essentially knew the Johns. He knew a bunch of sex workers, hookers, as you call them. Not my term.
I apologize for all the hookers listening.
All y'all prostitutes, I'm sorry. But he was
male and female.
That dude was a character. Like the Sidney Gottlieb actually really liked this white guy who was kind of like one of those shady detectives, like who just ran in the circles. Like he was a narcotics detective, but he like ran with the crew and he partied and stuff like that, and he did as much drug as the people he was busting essentially. And then he enlisted this George Hunter White to essentially run a safe house and rent an apartment in Boston too. Is I guess where Boston was where
safe house.
Yes, that's what they call essentially where CIA can do whatever the fuck they want to do. Essentially,
nice.
But he ran, and the safe house didn't involve one apartment. It involved two. He rented out two because one of the apartments was essentially a fuck palace for these hookers and Johns. And the other side, and there was essentially a mirror or window, and the other side was where George Hunter White would hang out with martinis and a portable toilet, and he would just sit there, and he would essentially the
Did you say portable toilet?
Yeah. That wasn't, he wrote, so this is the amazing part of the CIA. So he was essentially enlisted by the CIA. So he was an unofficial official worker of the CIA. In his expense report, he essentially listed the expense for a portable toilet because when he was probably drinking martinis, watching Johns have sex with prostitutes, beaten off, if he had to take a shit, he didn't want to have to get up.
Okay, you need to people are like, wait, what? Why? You need
Go ahead.
to get into that reasoning behind the
sex.
sex.
So yes, I'm getting into it.
Okay. The whole thing of him watching it is so wrong and inappropriate.
Sure. So
the whole thing's inappropriate and wrong.
So the idea was, so Sidney Gottlieb enlisted George Hunter White to essentially see, again, it's to see how when drugged, like with LSD was what they did in this, to see how they would react when they were like, whoops, you got LSD, essentially. You got LSD as if you got punked. So again, like they knew that if you're a John, if you're hiring the sex worker, you're not going to go to the cops who are like, hey, I hired this prostitute and she drugged me. They're going to be like, fuck you, you hired a prostitute. Go fuck off. So they enlisted and they hired out prostitutes. Like prostitutes were on the payroll of the CIA because George Hunter White, what they would do, the idea of it, they wanted to break down people and see how they reacted. So they would hire out these, essentially they would go to a prostitute. They'd be like, here's some cash, here's some LSD, get your usual clients and brand new ones, whatever. Come to this apartment or come to this apartment. You're going to offer them a drink. And of course, you're going to lace it with LSD, and then we're going to see what happens. And there was literally like that. The whole.
And then they would watch the entire thing, and it's like
post-coital too. They would be like, "What kind of conversations are you having after having sex with a prostitute?"
And for me, it's like nowhere is this right in any way, shape, or form. if they're there to do an actual job, like watching the sex part
a couple
is
jobs,
so
hand job
is so like not part of the game. What the game is, here, lure him in, give him the drug, and then get the hell out so I can do my mind controlled fuck on him, not watch you fuck. Like, it's time to mind fuck.
Oh, come on. It's a bunch of like random CIA.
But you know
things.
what I mean? Like, that it's just kind of like, I feel like you're doing a job. Like, why
But
you
they
gotta
did that
make
kind
it
of
even
shit.
worse?
It was like
they all gotta be fucked up to be.
It's also it's kind of like it's a cause, like it's one of the symptoms of this whole CIA thing is that because you're CIA, you have no fucking people watching over you besides like Dulles, who was the head of the CIA, Gottlieb, who was the head of the MK Ultra. Beyond that, as long as you didn't piss those guys off, you could do whatever the fuck you wanted to do. Yeah. Gottlieb liked George Hunter White, so he just let him do whatever. Like, he knew that he was watching the fuckery. He knew that he was having fucking fun time parties in these safe houses. He knew that George Hunter White was a shifty character, but he didn't give a shit. And as long as these CIA agents, their bosses were okay with it, and there's reports that of the people of the CIA personnel, they think that probably about 24 maybe had a full picture of what MK Ultra was. Not a lot of people had a good picture of MK Ultra. So as long as you didn't really piss off those 24 people, you could do what the fuck you wanted.
Yeah.
You know, and if it was real shifty, you just didn't fucking expense it. You didn't expense your, like, whatever your fuckery was. Like,
it's crazy to think that it's been almost 70 years since the beginning of this now. So you think about, like, who would even be alive now that was alive during that to even talk about it. I mean, I know we have tapes from, the 80s and stuff, but
conspiracy theory, one person they think might be alive or might have been part of the MK Ultra program was a gentleman by the name of Ted Kaczynski. Mm-hmm. You know who that is? Mm-mm. He's a Unabomber.
Oh, that's right.
So they think that, it's all over the map on whether this is actually true or not, but he definitely, like, Ted Kaczynski went to, I believe, Harvard, and one of the wings of experiments was at Harvard, and he's apparently one of the professors that he grew fond of ran some of these experiments. And there's reports that Ted Kaczynski had this done to him. Like, and I don't know about the drugging party, but he definitely had the thing where, like, he was
because they were going into the colleges and be like, hey, you want to be a part of this awesome experiment? Everybody's like, yeah, like, I'm doing something for humanity.
Like book club, but
kind of like guinea pig shit.
Essentially, yeah.
And so it would, and if the timing was right, then it totally. Did he ever admit it? Did he ever talk? Like, is there proof?
He said that he had some shit happen to him. I think in terms of, he's very like. Because of the nature of his personality. So Ted Kaczynski, I don't know how many people know or don't know, but he had these Harvard experiences. He went on to essentially bomb a bunch of people. He killed, I think, 2 or 3 people, maimed a bunch, railing against technology and how technology was going to be the doom of humankind, which he might have a fair point, but that's not a great way to get your point across, buddy. So I think he backs off from the whole MK Ultra thing because it insinuates that the reason why he did the fucked up things he did is because of MK Ultra, and he likes to think of himself as like, I have the control, like, I'm doing this because of this, like, it's not because I'm fucked up in the head, it's because of this, like, so I think he's not like MK Ultra made me do it,
right? Which
I don't think they did. I think, again, MK Ultra was very good at breaking fucking people down and making people a fucking mess. On the other side of the Manchurian Candidate, they had no success in, like, twisting people in this.
Yeah, it's crazy that I could see, like, both sides. Like, I could see these experiments twisting someone's mind to do fucked up shit like that. Because, I mean, maybe at one point, because, again, there's only so much that we know. We're barely hitting the surface of what really went on. Maybe with Ted, what did you say his last name was?
Kaczynski,
like, with him, they could have been maybe trying to make this man into some kind of military like aggression. Maybe they were just like constantly repeating when he took the drugs, repeating like kill, hurt, or beating him up and trying to bring out this anger in him, this rage, so they could use him as a weapon. Because I feel like they definitely.
Are you saying it was like unsuccessful? Because I don't think he was carrying out the actions of this when he did his mail bombings. I don't think he was carrying out the actions of the CIA.
Well, I'm saying maybe that will. Obviously, they weren't successful, so majority of the cases of these people like ended up that all the stories that I've read or watched, like some documentaries of people that were actually interviewed that had these experiments done to them for years. It was just really sad, like the one I was sharing about the poor woman that was dealing with postpartum depression. She never got her life back after that, even though when her kid was already like
it fucked
old,
people up
like
for
that
life.
bond with her child was broken because she was stuck in a psych ward the entire time with these experiments put on her. But then there was other women that one woman, she was very sophisticated. I think she was from Germany, and she was very eloquent when she talked, and she said she really wanted to go to college, and because of what they did to her mind, she couldn't even read a book afterwards. It was that and that devastating. So she says how she compares like what this experiment did to her. She's like, it basically, without killing me, she said, it took my life.
Sure.
Because her life now is just kind of worthless. She has a short attention span. She can't even read a book. She couldn't have gone to college. All these things she dreamed to do, she wasn't able to.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely ruined one of the people it ruined was Frank Olson, which is a very notorious case. We watched, actually, again, a recommendation, reads and watches, everybody. Watch Wormwood. It's good. It's about Frank Olson. And what happened with Frank Olson, he was pretty high up there. He was
part of the CIA.
He was part of the CIA, a scientist for the CIA, and he was pretty high up there, and he got invited to a retreat with Sidney Gottlieb. Don't ever go to if you ever. I mean, he's dead now, but if you ever have a chance to go to a retreat with a guy like Sidney Gottlieb, don't do it. Don't do it. He's one of those friends. Because what he did is, so he invited him to this retreat. And there was a bunch of other CIA agents, and there was him and another high-ranking CIA official who were kind of hosting them, and they had 2 bottles of liquor. I believe it was gin. Not that it matters. But they poured everybody a glass of gin, let's say. And they handed everybody the drink, and then they poured their own. Happened to be from a different bottle. People looked exactly the same. People didn't pay attention. Well, it turns out that the bottle that everybody else took, except for Gottlieb and this other high-ranking official, were laced with LSD. And nobody knew about it. A lot of CIA agents were told, like, "Hey, we might lace your drink every once in a while." It's like going to a party and be like, "Hey, we might lace your drink. If it happens, it happens. Like, you've already agreed to it because you're in this party. Like, whatever. You have no remedies because you agreed to go to this party." Essentially, what the CIA was like. And so everybody got fucked up, and it got Frank Olson fucked up, and he had a change of heart, really, and he was having premonitions. He wanted to get out of the CIA, and it fucked with his brains. Like, he wasn't the same. He went home to his family, and he was just staring off to the distance. Like, LSD fucked him up.
But I don't even think it was just that. I think that was a big part of it, but I think it was what he was seeing, what he was having to do to other humans, and what this whole thing was about, and that he was part of it, and he was the cause of this also because he's a part of this.
So Frank Olson is a tough one for me because what happened to Frank Olson is awful. But Frank Olson, before this whole MK Ultra LSD lacing thing, he watched high-level interrogations where people were fucked up, and some people didn't get out. I think that the LSD thing, I think it hit him. I think maybe that was his line, oddly enough. Like, he was like, I don't want it. We're doing this to people. I don't want, this is not okay. So for some reason he was in there for a while. He watched high-level interrogations where people were fucked up, people were killed. He's part of that. It's part of the CIA. I guess it's kind of what you sign up for if you're part of the CIA. Anyways, after this LSD thing, he's like, I want out. I'm done. Like, I want to get out. And the CIA realized how fucked up in the head he was, and I think they thought maybe he would talk. So they said, no, we're going to watch over you today for a few days because you're in conditions not. So they sent him to a CIA therapist, I think he was a nutritionist that they pawned off as a therapist. They sent Frank Olson to a magician, saying they were going to cheer up.
It's really sad, but
yeah, no, it's crazy. They had the CIA had magicians on payroll because they thought that I think a lot of it was sleight of hand and CIA bullshit, like you're dead, like here's poison. But they had like a very prominent magician on the payroll, and he wrote a book about the complete guide, Magician's Guide to CIA Work, essentially Magician's Guide to Secretly Murdering People. But they had Frank Olson see a magician. They said to cheer him up. Who knows what they were fucking doing back then? They tried all kinds of crazy ass shit. That didn't really work. He was still despondent, so they had him stay in a hotel in New York. And he stayed there, and he had one of his compadres, Lashford, who was a CIA agent, was staying with him. Conveniently, Lashford had to go to the restroom, and Frank Olson got dead. He ended up through the window and onto the pavement from I believe the 14th floor. So from there they said, oh, he jumped or he fell. He jumped or he fell.
And then magically, while his friend was in the bathroom,
sure,
he
of
came
course,
out and his friend was no more.
Yeah, he got killed. Because one of the things that we watch in the documentary is that essentially, because when you think of someone killed themselves from a hotel, like you either think they're on the ledge and then they jump, or they go to the rooftop and then they jump. There was no ledge, so he took a swan dive. If he actually
You'd have to crawl, right.
No, not even that. He'd have to take essentially if he ended up killing himself, which I don't think is what happened. I think he got murdered by the CIA. He'd have to take a swan dive. He'd have to take a running jump through the window.
Talk about the phone call, because this is definitely where it gets really fucking weird.
Yeah, they said, what did he say? What was the famous phone?
Well, back then they had an operator that would be listening on another end.
Yeah.
So when what was his friend's name?
Lashford.
When Lashford called to be basically hey, your job's done, he's dead. All the person retrieving the call on the other end from the CIA was just like, that's too bad. So
Frank Lashford, I think it's Frank Lashford. He ended up calling after he quote unquote saw that one of his colleagues and friends, he alleges, committed suicide jumped or fell out the window. He calls Abramson, who is this essentially a nutritionist who was guising as a therapist. And one of the theories is that was the only one who had enough security clearance to even see him. You can't just see a fucking therapist and be like, hey, the government's LSDing everybody. Ha. You have to see some bullshit. Someone who has that kind of so Frank Lashford, this is after he calls Abramson. He says, well, he's gone. Abramson's reply, well, that's too bad. Click. And a lot of people think that's code for it's done. And Abramson confirming, okay, it's done.
And then in the autopsy, also they say that he had scratches on him. If you're gonna commit suicide, why would you scratch your face? It looked like he was fighting.
The goons came in while the theory is that he went into the restroom because he wasn't there's actually almost like the mob. Again, we're talking about serial killers and the mob, and we're talking about the insane thing, not to get into a tangent, but the insane thing is we're talking about for fear of communists and the fucking horrible thing that the communist government can sometimes do. We did all these awful things, and we acted like serial killers in the mob because the CIA has essentially Lashford was a scientist, right? He wasn't a guy. He wasn't a get it done, for lack of a better phrase. The theory is that he went in the restroom to have deniability essentially, and then he essentially 1, 2, who knows how many CIA goons came in and they fucking shoved him or forced him out the window like felt like he was cornered and he had to jump or something like that.
Yeah.
And Lashford just sat in there. So he knew that it was coming, and his job was to be there for deniability. And he just called to confirm that all the CIA goons came in and they did the job.
Yeah.
They got it done.
It's just fucked up. And then, I mean, to me, it's like another fact is like, well, didn't he just like wash his socks? He like washed his socks and hung them up. And it's just like, if you're going to commit suicide, I think the last thing you're going to think about is cleaning your socks before you jump out a window.
Don't wash your socks.
Like,
okay. Life was weird back then. Why wash your socks? Like, I guess because back then, like, probably back then they didn't have speculation corner. They didn't have like when we go, like we just went to a trip to San Diego, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like a little, like, we got to get the fuck out of town type thing. So we went to town like a lot like ours. But anyways, when we went, I think it looked like we were packing for like months, like excursions. I think
'cause that's how I do.
I think back then, like you essentially, when you're packing for a trip, whether it's for like 1 day or 14 days, all you would do was you would pack a suit and you'd pack like a pair of socks in your shoes.
Well, on top of that, they don't have like the resources like now. Like most hotels actually have.
We'll
like,
wash your socks for you.
We'll have a service. Yeah, you could get your clothes dry
That
clean.
poor fucking job.
I've totally done that when I've
course you
taken
have.
courses and
You're living a life.
like when I was an
No, it's fine.
educator
It's fine.
for hair.
Too good
Like,
to wash your own socks.
No, like you want to.
You're
Like,
not a Frank
sharp,
Olsen type.
So, but no, I think what happened with that is that I think they were really trying to get him, reel him back in, and he needed a few more days, and he wasn't staying. He stayed there longer than anticipated, so that's probably why he wasn't packed for the. So it's like,
Well, no,
it
was like a thing.
I
think,
Did he watch his underwear too?
and I think the CIA, like this whole like waiting period from the point where he was drugged by Sidney Gottlieb and to the point where he was essentially thrown out or forced out a window, or fell or jump. I love that. I'm so fascinated by the idea that they're like, he fell or jumped or jumped. That's like such a mob thing to say. Like he jumped and or fell into my car. I am sorry.
It sucks. Like I hate to be so like gory and morbid to give you guys all a visual, but he was still alive when he hit the pavement, and he was trying to say something.
That's the crazy part. That's like movie shit where he was like, he was about to say, the government did it, but then he like died.
CIA. Yeah,
I think the guy, like, because the poor fucking bellhop, or I think it was the front desk manager or whatever, who like ran out, was like, oh fuck. He was watching a dead man, right? He was a dying man, I should say, not a dead man yet. And he like, Frank Olsen tried to utter something, and the guy's obviously going to be like, it's going to be okay. Don't, like, you need to, like, essentially go resting in peace. He didn't know, like, hey, this guy's going to spit out some CIA informant shit. Like, insane.
I have a question for
Oh,
you.
no.
For you and for any viewers that want to call in right now at 626-733-8256.
Do I have that
If you
up?
want to come live. 626.
I'm sorry?
733-8256.
I don't think we're doing that.
We're doing that.
I think people should come in the privacy of their own homes. We're not that type of service.
I have a question for you. Like,
Oh, no.
if you were in this situation and you fell out of a window, like, would your last words be like, the fucking CIA did it? Or would it be like, tell my wife I love her.
wife my socks are washed.
She'll be proud. What would you like? What like, as much as you want to like throw them under the bus, like, wouldn't you want your family? Like, I feel like that's a really hard question to answer, because I feel like as much as I want to be like, fuck these guys, I want my family to know that I love them and I was struggling, you know, and this wasn't my fault. Like,
I think probably, I'm speculating here, but I think probably if you're at that point, I think that you're letting people know, like, this is the truth. I think because if you're like, so say in your head you're Frank Olsen, and you're like, you kind of gored it out of your mind, like you've had a rough few days, like, you know, they're taking you to magicians. They took him to some random play, like, in the theater they probably didn't want to fucking watch. They're taking them all over the place. So these people were claiming to be therapists, but they're really, like Frank Olson had to know that, like, this Abramson, who is essentially posing as a therapist, was really just a CIA's way to check in on him to see how much he was going to talk. Yeah. That's all it is. And so so you already have that paranoia, and then you get shoved out of a window. Like, I feel like you're going to, like, your last words, unfortunately for him, like, are going to be talking about, like, trying to get out what happened to you. Like,
I mean, at that point, but still, it'd be like such a hard thing. You know, you're dying, and you know you're never going to see your family again. But at the same time, yeah, you want to be like, fuck the CIA, and I'm going to throw your ass under the bus too. You know, so it's like, I don't know.
I think I'd say the CIA thing because I hope you know that I love you every day. I hope I tell you every day that I love you.
What about Clementine?
Well, yeah, but we're talking about us right now. About this human connection. It's Valentine's Day. Oh, happy Valentine's again, everybody. What is the origin? Getting off from MK Ultra, because this is bumming me out. The fact that my government wants to kill me. Yeah, and then we watched another thing with, like, Noam Chomsky, like, about, like, how, like, we're all set up to be fucking sheep on a corporate train, essentially, in the U.S. But yeah, I think. What was I going to say? I was getting sidetracked. I was going to say, what is the origin?
Usual.
Does anybody know that the origin of Valentine's Day? Isn't it like some saint got killed? Crackpot research.
Cupid?
No. How the fuck did Cupid come in? How the fuck did people think it's okay, like a baby in a fucking diapers shooting arrows is okay?
I don't know. That would be really cool if somebody could call in right now and school us.
Somebody do an episode of something.
Before we Google that. Okay. 626-733-8256.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug, everybody.
626-733-8256.
So,
tell us. We don't celebrate Valentine's Day, so.
Yeah, we don't. But... So people were like, they did this shit for many years, from 73 to 74. 1973 is when it ended. Yeah. One of the ways that the fun part is, one of the ways that the CIA reacted to this news coming out was they destroyed all the paperwork, which is fun. They're like, fuck this, we're not letting this get out.
There has to be copies somewhere.
Well, the only way we found out, so the way we found out a lot of what happened. So this got exposed through news, and then the CIA was like, "Oh fuck, let's start burning, shredding shit," and they did that. And of course, like, the Senate and all these people had to act like they fucking gave a shit and held hearings and stuff like that. And I don't, for clarification, I don't think Congress people and everything knew what was going on with MK Ultra. I just think that, at that point it was already disbanded, but. They started, the only way we know is through people who are, like, testimonies of people who were affected, like we mentioned, a few ladies and all these people who were drugged, and also
someone committed suicide, like a legit case of suicide.
Yeah, I mean, it really fucked some.
And all the people that were interviewed, they said, like, every day when they were put through the same procedure, getting drugged, mind manipulation, they would tell the doctors or nurses that were working on them, aka CIA, they would tell them, like, I can't go through this again. I'd rather die, basically. I can't do this. And then they would just kind of, like, pat him on the back, like, you're going to be okay. You're going to do this again. And it was part of, like, the mind control. And it's just so fucking sad.
Yeah, one of the ways they did, too, speaking of
Go off life?
Psychologies, they would also, like, essentially do electrotherapy until the brain was mush. Like, they would just electrocute you until you were a puddle, essentially. One of the ways they found out about what was going on is through a Freedom of Information Act in 1977, related to the MK Ultra project, some of the surviving, apparently there was, they uncovered 20,000 documents that were financial. for the CIA. Like they shredded all the fucking paperwork. It's as if they shredded all the court documents, but they fucking for some reason they didn't destroy all the receipts. So a lot of what we know comes from essentially the financial documents that they just fucking forgot to destroy.
I'm back.
You're back.
Did you miss me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's get into before we sign off into the sunset. Let's get into what you think. Let's get into to Cuckoo Land.
I already told you.
What do you think?
Cuckoo Land.
Oh, come on. We all know that
you
there's.
You married this cuckoo.
Mm-hmm. I did.
You're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh.
I'm gonna keep saying that. Do you think that they're still conducting mind control experiments?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel like now, now they actually got it down. I feel like now it's not even.
Well, they got it down. It's called social media. Like they don't need to give you LSD. Like we already they have preached. They have had us bought into like social media and individualism and only giving a shit about ourselves and kind of focused in on what the next fucking commodity we need and all that bullshit. They have us controlled. And the biggest way
passwords.
They don't need us
algorithms.
Before they needed us to control us to have essentially soldiers that didn't need to consent. Now they have drones that they can just shoot off into the air and stuff like that. All they need from us in terms of a mind control fucking perspective is they just need us to be passive. They just need us to not give a shit. That's the only mind control the government cares about now. They just don't want us fucking acting up and raising a fuss.
And let me tell you, when I'm online shopping, that's exactly how I feel. I don't give a fuck. Oh, God, let me redo my password. I don't really want to buy this shit. Don't fucking care. And it's sad.
Your biggest thing is redoing your password?
And I think about it, in the back of my mind. I think about, they're fucking watching what I'm buying.
Oh, sure.
What's that documentary? There's that whole documentary.
Yeah, we didn't watch it.
That talks about
it's not everybody knows this is an old trope, but you talk about fucking Swiss cheese and all of a sudden you go on Instagram and it's trying to sell you Swiss cheese. It's a total thing. It's all to keep us distracted. That's all it is. That's all the mind control the government needs. They don't need to fucking control Al Roker. And the reason why I keep bringing up Al Roker, I'm sorry, Al Roker, is because you see a lot of the videos they're still mind controlling. Look at Britney Spears and Al Roker. They don't give a shit about that. They're mid-level celebrities. What they really care about is dead cell phone batteries or camera batteries.
Bye. Now he's gone. Now he's gone. I really think that, social media, I also think that they've really, you think our technology has come so far along and we're just so much more advanced as we were 70 years ago when that was the beginning of the mind control, at least of the CIA's, MK Ultra. I feel like now they definitely have it down and they've got it so hidden from us. But it would be stupid not to think that it's not in existence. It has to be, for sure.
Well, let me cut in here because I'm gonna
spill your beer.
Let me cut in here. Let me tell you something. I don't think they're doing it on the same level as they did on the MK because I think they were just so fucking paranoid about Russia and China. They were just. We were still paranoid about those two countries, but I think they were just completely wrapped in that shit. They were they're gonna come up with brain control. They're gonna come up with brainwashing. We got to get to that. I think now they're savvy enough to know that. Well, I don't know if they're savvy enough, but I think they focused in a little off that because they know that people don't give a shit anymore. People don't need to be brain. I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But again, too, I think above and beyond all of the what you call conspiracy theories, no matter what we're doing and how we're doing it, I definitely think extraterrestrials, they're the real ones that could do it. Who knows? All of us could have been abducted or had an encounter with an extraterrestrial, and I think they know how to just wipe out our memory.
That sounds like the plot of Matrix 4, 5, whatever it's happening.
Can't wait.
So you think that, then that opens up the whole fucking Pandora's box of what if we're all in a dream? What if we're all being controlled by aliens? And just we think it's all simulation.
They say that even our water, they're like slowly like making our brains weaker by like just putting stuff in our water that we don't need to be drinking, you know? And you think like
H
like
or O? Why is there two H's?
more like
what is HO? What does HO mean? What does HO make?
oh, here we go.
What does
I probably know this answer too. I would be mad.
make?
But yeah, so I feel like they've already figured out ways with our food, with our water, social media. Like they've already found ways to like dumb us down, like the foggy brain and all that stuff. It's all around us. The chemtrails, like I definitely think.
Yeah, we're gonna get into chemtrails. Here we
I
go.
definitely think that's
it's in the air, brother.
Thing. Yeah, totally. Because it has to be in the air. Because when you think about there are those people that
what are
do
chemtrails?
not leave their houses.
What is HO? What is chemtrails?
I will say that in a second. There are people during COVID that have not left their house. They've done, drive up, or they've done Instacart delivered to the house. Literally have not left their house.
Yeah.
Maybe they went in their backyard just to get sun.
Those chemtrails. You gotta have a little bit of chemtrails.
And they got COVID, and so it just makes you wonder if you were completely not exposing yourself.
Wait, what does it have to do with chemtrails? What are you saying? It's in the water? Is COVID in the water?
Like you were just saying about mosquitoes. Maybe it's these man-made mosquitoes that they made.
Man, they botched that shit up so bad. Like I get it. Like I get the idea of like COVID could be a biological fucking experiment gone awry and got leaked out or whatever. But man, they ain't savvy enough to like put it in the water. They're fucking up. They would totally fuck it up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
look how much they fucked up MK Ultra.
They talk about how they like a lot of conspiracies are like population control. This is all part of the conspiracy. This is all part of the New World Order. But I feel like, I was like, if they really wanted to like wipe us out, just fuck our water up. Like that's literally all you have to do. Well, that's it. If you don't drink it, you fucking wash yourself in it.
Yeah.
So
I think
if it's some kind of poison,
one of those things that like with MK Ultra, like it is so fucked up what happened, but it almost makes me take solace in government conspiracy theories, because like they were like MK Ultra, the government CIA was like, we're gonna learn how to brainwash people, and we're gonna create the Manchurian Candidate, and the Manchurian Candidate is just literally like, it's the idea of creating someone who you can control and create and cause to do crazy shit and not remember and just be like a puppet. They're like, we're going to do that shit. And they fucked it up. All they did was introduce LSD, murder a couple people incidentally, and fuck up a bunch of people's brains. And that's all they were successful in doing. Like you just, like, that's what makes me take solace in these government plans, is that like, not that they won't cause atrocities and they won't, like, people will die, but, like, this, like, grand scheme atrocity, like, it's like, this got their shit together. They ain't got their shit together. Humans are dumb. What? Humans are too dumb for that shit. Anyways.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to put some biological, like, viruses and mosquitoes. Look what happened in Korea. It didn't fucking work. Anyways. All right, Brianna, where can they find you?
I'm at Darling Dolly. The Dolly is with a 0, not an O.
Oh.
Carousel hair extensions. The Dollhouse.
Yeah, still rocking those extensions. Go and grab yours. Go to carouselhairextensions.com if you want to look fabuloso.
Yeah, I'm doing custom pieces now. Everything's magnetic technology that hasn't been done before.
Except for by aliens. I'm sure aliens have had that before.
Oh, they're doing all kinds of magnetic technology. How the fuck do you think the pyramids were made?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm tired again.
But yeah, I'm really excited about my invention, so you guys should go check it out.
Check it out.
At Carousel Hair Extensions.
.com. Anyways, you can find me on all the Extra Normal officials, Extra Normal podcast on Instagram, Extra Normal P on Twitter. Email us, extranormalpodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions, you have any theories about MK Ultra. I'd love to hear the brand new ones, because, we kind of went over the greatest hits. Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. Follow us on, you can obviously, if you're listening to us on your podcast machines, you're like, hey, I like it. Make sure you subscribe. And I don't know if rating's still a thing, if it's a positive rating. If you think these guys suck, they're awful, please don't do it.
Please keep the negativity to yourself.
my fragile ego can't take it. Yeah, no, just whatever. Just hey, listen, I would love actually the critiques. Just email them to me personally because that'd be fun. Like, hey, what's up with your teeth? Or like, hey, how come you always wear black shirts? Like, why? Go ahead.
You're so stupid. I mean, your hair is sticking up right there.
It is. Do I have? Oh no! Take 2 on the whole thing. No, yeah. Speaking of hair up, YouTube, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We're there for you.
What does that have to do with your hair being up?
Because they're gonna see it. That's the segue.
Okay.
What's your problem? That's a great segue.
All right.
If you think that was a bad segue or a great segue, please email us and let us know. All right.
Or call.
Or call. She loves her calls.
I just like meeting people and talking to people. Don't feel
Yeah,
shy.
no, I love it. I'm not even saying I hate it.
Yeah, you guys should totally call in.
Call in.
Right now, before we sign off.
Oh, we're going to. It's ending.
626-733-8256. I really want to talk to people about the Marilyn Manson subject.
Oh, no.
Me and him have been like debating about it. Like, we can go on for hours. I have one person on my side so far.
MK Ultra.
I'm really a feminist.
Stay on target. Stay on target.
But I'm also a really big fan of Marilyn. So I'm really hurt by everything, and
I think
I'm gonna stay on my man's side.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, you stay on R. Kelly's side. It's okay.
No.
He's no R. Kelly.
I do love R. Kelly.
But it's just
I
people
won't
like-
watch the documentary because I'm like,
Again,
I know what happened, but
we all know what happened with R. Kelly.
but stop. I can't.
With Marilyn Manson, we got into it. You said, "Oh, that person, like, she's prone to making up stories," but I was like, "Hey, yeah." But then everybody's like, "Yeah, that guy's a dick." So I was like, well, "That guy's a dick."
But but I
that
feel
simple.
like okay, like me, like if we were not a thing and I had an opportunity to get with Marilyn, I would make that bad girl decision. Be like, this is a really fucking bad decision, and I know that, and I know he's fucked up, and there's gonna be some fucked up, twisted shit going on. But sign me up, motherfucker, because I'm ready to go. So, and I feel.
Tell you where my signups are for, okay? I got a few sign-up sheets I'd sign up for you, God damn it.
But because it's like
No, it's okay.
nostalgic. I like Marilyn Manson. Like, I grew up with him, and
Whatever.
I saw
That's
the
the thing, is you
controversial
grew up with
bullshit.
him.
His music like really helped me get through some shit, you know. So it really frustrates, like, you know, like the old school God inside of me. Like, fucking leave Marilyn alone.
I like
He causes people to fucking shoot schools up and wear trench
that was
coats.
bullshit. That was like
They're always coming
fear-mongering.
after him.
That was like 20
you know?
years ago. Nobody's coming after him now. Nobody's
So-
even knocking on that goddamn
Well,
day.
I just want Marilyn Manson. If you're
I saw that.
listening
I
and
saw that.
watching,
Like,
I got you.
and I like some Marilyn Manson songs, obviously.
Oh, you do?
But
How cute.
he's just
You're so gothic.
so condescending. He's so goddamn Anyways, this has been
MK Ultra.
this is an episode of Extra Normal Podcast. I always say, don't get brainwashed.
I always say, word up, hey.